And then well, Susan, we can keep it kind of like intimate little group because there's just three of us. But my name is Mary Lou Viola. I'm the director of family programming at Miles for Migraine, and we thank you for coming. We're very excited for tonight's virtual event. What I will do at the end is I put a little survey link in the comment section. So if you could just take a few moments and let us know how we did and any other information you'd like to hear from us, or it really helps us, be our best and also bring up new topics for the future too that can drive into interest. And I have a lot of basic like Zoom, guidelines, but I think everyone's pretty much expert in Zoom at this point in time. So I won't bore you and tell you like, you can put your video on, you don't have to, and all that kind of stuff. But I want to introduce our guest speaker, and it's Beth Rosengrant. She's an MSN and a CPNP. She's from the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. She graduated from Mercer University with her Bachelor of Science in Nursing, and from Georgia State University with her Master's in Science in Nursing. She's currently practicing as an advanced practice provider at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Her areas of interest include migraine, non-medication treatment of migraine variants, and healthy lifestyle habits, excuse me. And today she's going to talk about headache health and the important lifestyle habits, that can really help us along our journey. And I want to thank you, Beth, for joining us and speaking with us and sharing your information with us. And I'm going to pass the controls to you.
All right, well, thank you so much for that introduction. And thank you for being here. Susan, if you have any questions, you just let me know.
Thank you.
And I am happy to answer them personally for you. And we will get started. Today, I am talking about headache health and important lifestyle habits. If anyone has ever been in clinic with me, I know that I talk about I use my hands a lot, lots of visual cues. We talk about three main ways that we treat migraine headaches. One could possibly be a preventative or daily medication to use. One is a good rescue plan, and the other one is all of our non-medication things are our headache health and lifestyle habits. And these can be the most important part of your migraine treatment and migraine control and migraine prevention. I'm going to use all those things synonymously. And are sometimes can be really challenging to get to, but are really very important part of gaining migraine control. Again, lots of visual aids. I talk about my 5 things. These are my 5 things that really need to kind of be in check anytime you're talking about migraine health and healthy lifestyles. Drinking, eating, sleep, exercise, and stress, and not necessarily in that particular order. So we are going to go through each individual ones of those and talk about them in very significant detail and hopefully help you guys with some tips and lots of different things. So first we have drinking. It is all about the water. And I will say a lot of times, some kids, this is really all they need. And this is also probably one of the most challenging things for some kids who are really active and go all the time. It's hard for them to stop and find time. Some schools are more challenging to work with than others about having water available to you all the time. And sometimes in busy lives, it's really hard to sit in and kind of pay attention to all of our water intake all the time, but it is so important. There is always a component of dehydration during a headache, and a lot of times I use water as part of your treatment plan, even in the rescue situation. So our goal for water intake is up to an ounce per weight in pounds up to 100 ounces, which is 100 ounces is about a gallon. This is my visual aid for the day. I take this with me everywhere I go. And it has the different hours of the day on it. These things are cheap. They're like $20 on Amazon. And you can probably get similar versions at Walmart for any less. And that is a whole gallon. I will not gonna lie to you, I don't always drink that whole thing, but I get really darn close.
That's
and
wonderful.
doing it by like water bottles. A lot of people drink water bottles, like those 16-ounce water bottles that you get. It's about 4 to 5 regular water bottles per day. You know, I usually say the minimum is 4, and if you're going to play a lot of sports or be really active, then its minimum is 5. And again, some of the time, this is all you need. You really just want to make sure that you're keeping super, super extra hydrated. You know, for all of these different things, I say that our migraineurs, our kids with migraines, are a little bit more sensitive than some others, and neurosensitive is how I call it. Their brains just need sometimes a lot more hydration than a general person, where one person can, you know, not drink that much water and get away with it. And a person with chronic migraine is just a lot more sensitive to those dehydration changes and really need to stay super hydrated all the time. And it's really, really important. And then along with drinking water, we talk about limiting or having no caffeine. And really, I prefer no caffeine because it can really cause a migraine spiral if you're sensitive to it and you drink caffeine, and then the next day you're going to really regret that sometimes. But it will cause a headache. And you know, some people have used caffeine in the past to treat migraine headaches, and some people still do. I usually don't recommend it, especially in pediatrics, just because, you know, depending on how frequently your migraines are or how much you use caffeine on a recreational basis, then it really could lead to worsening migraines over time if it's something that you drink a lot of. And then we also want to limit our sugary beverages. And that's just a general health rule. Anybody in the pediatric field is going to tell you that. And you know, I don't take away your sodas or your drinks at all, but I want to make sure that you're staying super hydrated with other non-sugary beverages as well. And same thing with caffeine. I don't want to take it away 100% if it's not affecting you that much, but frequent and chronic use of either one of that can be really challenging. And I also don't say stop at cold turkey either, because you're going to end up with a really bad headache. So if caffeine is something that you do on a regular basis, then let's talk about it. And we can make a plan on how to make that a little bit easier and better for you. And then I always, you know, talk to school about keeping a water bottle at school. Some schools again are better than others. And if there is any letter or anything that I can write as a provider to help make that situation a little bit easier and make that allowed, I really think exceptions should be made for the kids that are really sensitive to it and for medical reasons need water at the bedside, because you know, at their desk. Because you get up and go in the morning and you're going to run out the door and you're not going to drink water. And then if you're not drinking it throughout the day or just at the water fountain, which most of them are closed at this point anyway, and then just drinking it at home, that's not really, you can't chug a gallon of water when you get home. That's going to be a really challenging thing to accomplish, and probably not fun. And so, you know, to make this interactive a little bit, if anyone wants to interact, you know, what are some reasons that drinking water could be challenging, or ways that we can kind of overcome not drinking enough water throughout the day?
Tasteless, I think, would be a challenge.
Yep. And I hear that a lot, especially from a lot of my teenagers.
I'll bet.
You know, and I'm real honest with you, water tastes gross. I get it. Okay. Water's not fun. No one likes to drink water. You know, I don't care what kind of flavorings you want to put in it. You know, there's a lot of, you know, I try to stay away from a lot of really artificial sweetener stuff, but there are some things like Splenda that are a little bit safer to sweeten water with. You know, was another thing I get often is how, you know, there's just not enough time in the day, and it's just not something I think of. That's where this can be helpful.
I like that.
It has the hours of the day on it, and you can even make your own if you have a water bottle. And you could take a Sharpie too and just kind of write things and make it a fun goal. You know, make it a challenge for you. There's even apps for that. You could track your water over time, and it'll ding at you if you don't drink.
And you can even do there's a little a pet plant that,
yes,
like when you drink,
I
you
can't remember the name
you've
of that one.
oh my gosh, I'll look for it. But I killed my plant. But but my daughter doesn't kill the plant. She's much better. She actually bought we actually got her an Hydro Flask, and she like decorates it with stickers, and she's actually quite good at drinking her water,
Yeah.
I will say. And that
Whatever you do, and everybody gets their own tailored plan about what they can do to kind of achieve those goals during the day and
Yeah.
make that a little bit easier. But it does require some conscious thought. You have to focus, and it's not something that sometimes comes naturally, especially that volume sometimes.
We like to put fruit in ours.
Yes, fruit infused, cucumber infused water. I'm not gonna lie, it's really
Mhm.
good.
It is.
It's really good, and it's very refreshing. Yeah, simple fruit, anything, squeeze some lemon juice in it, make it a little easier. All right, now moving on to sleep. Sleep is tough. So why is sleep so important? Up to 1/3 of migraine patients have attacks almost exclusively related to sleep or waking up in the morning, early morning, definitely not getting enough sleep. It's probably one of the more common triggers for migraines, for sure. Getting not enough, and also too little. And even outside of migraines, sleep disturbance and lack of sleep can be linked to decreased empathy, poor memory consolidation. If you're not able to focus in school, you're going to have lower academic performance, which is going to lead to more stress, which is going to lead to more headaches, which is going to lead to this cycle that we get in many, many times. It also leads to increased pain perception, which I think is really important. If migraine headaches affect everybody differently, and one person can have a migraine and have a certain number of symptoms, and another person can have a migraine and have completely different symptoms. But having poor sleep and not being well rested on a regular basis can lead to your brain to having a higher sensitivity to that pain response. So if headaches start to get worse over time, or more painful or harder to treat or something like that, then a lot of times, if we look at our sleep patterns and making sure we're really well rested, sometimes that can even decrease it over time. And then that was a huge kind of eye opener to me at some point, when I learned about that specifically and was talking about that. And that is so important, and especially if there's other pains or other discomforts that you have along with chronic migraine, and also in an extreme way, a shorter life expectancy. People who are well rested live longer.
Wow.
And then what to do? So our recommendations for sleep is getting approximately 8 to 10 hours of sleep at night, and this is within that window, not too little and not too much, because again, both of those things can lead to worsening migraine and poor sleep patterns over time, especially for the teenagers who like to stay up really, really late on the weekend and sleep in until sometimes 2 p.m. or later.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that can be really challenging. So we talk about going to bed and waking up at regular times each day within about a 2-hour window of variability, even on the weekends, if possible. And on the weekends you're go, and you have different activities and different functions and things like that. But we want to not really just try not to go too excessively on the weekends, because then Monday morning you're going to wake up and you're going to have a migraine every time. And it's going to really ruin that Monday experience for you. And it can be a lot better. And we really try to limit daytime naps along with that. I joke with a lot of my kids, after the age of 5 years old, you don't need a nap. Okay. Nap is bonus sleep. It does not contribute to your restorative sleep that you get at night. Really, that long period of 8 to 10 hours of sleep is going to be the most restorative. And daytime sleep doesn't do that for you. It doesn't accumulate in your sleep bucket or anything like that. It's not how sleep works. If you sleep 2 hours in a nap, and then you sleep 6 hours at night, that does not equal 8 hours of sleep. And really the only thing that naps end up doing is simply disrupting your nighttime sleep. Because if you take a nap during the daytime because you're tired, then you want to stay up later that night, and then you have to wake up early for school in the next morning, and then you're tired again, and it's this whole cycle, and then you're napping every afternoon and staying up every single night, and then you get in a really destructive sleep pattern, and it can be really challenging to break. So I really try to avoid naps. Sleep is the best medicine for headache. So if you have a migraine in the acute moment, take a nap. It's great. Taking a naps are not 100% no-nos, but if they are disrupting your nighttime sleep and preventing you from going to bed on a regular basis, then that's where we try to really limit those.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you have my daughter, she's 15. She has a chronic daily migraine. And she sometimes will get home from school and she feels so sick and her head hurts so bad. She tries to take a nap just to try to calm it down. So, because she still has her homework to do, you know what I mean? Or that type thing. Do you recommend even if she takes her acute med or, but sometimes she literally can't function anymore. She has to take a nap. Do you recommend a certain length of time or any recommendations? Because
usually about 20 minutes.
Okay.
Most adults and most teenagers are kind of in that adult kind of pattern are about 20 to 30 minute kind of sleep cycles at that point in time. And so if you need a really prolonged nap, like a really good nap, then I say an hour and a half. And that is a full sleep cycle. And then kind of a cat nap, we kind of want to limit to about 20 to 30 minutes. And then try to wake up if you have migraine headaches and that waking up in 20 to 30 minutes is going to make your headache just way worse. And again, if you need acute treatment to help your migraine with sleep in that moment, that's fine. And kind of that 1.5 hour time frame is a good kind of time to kind of be aroused and kind of wake up at that time to kind of follow your own natural sleep patterns, so that where you're not overtired and you wake up in the middle of a sleep cycle all like,
yeah. If she goes too long, then it's that same thing. She'll sleep for 2.5, 3 hours because she just feels so sick. And then now we're, even if she fell asleep at 5 o'clock, now it's we're looking at 11, 12 o'clock. And I, in the morning, find little texts on my phone that she's like, Mom, I'm hungry. Well, of course you're hungry. You've been up for 24 hours or whatever.
It's been so many hours since we've eaten last.
Yeah, exactly.
So 1.5 hours is that good, single sleep cycle that you get into that hopefully should give you enough restorative sleep to be able to wake up and function. But everyone's a little bit different as far as that goes, and little cat naps are kind of okay in 20 minutes or so. Good question.
Thank you.
And then how do I do that? And again, sleep can be really, really challenging, and especially if we've gotten into bad habits and bad patterns, they're really, really challenging to correct, and it's going to take a lot of time. If you've kind of trained your brain a little bit to where you're chronically up late at night and things like that, and you're like, I'm just not tired. Well, yeah, because your body is used to that now, and your body thinks that is what time you need to go to sleep. And you would think that your body would just naturally know exactly when it needs to go to sleep, but sometimes it doesn't. And a lot of times we have to fit in unique preferences into a regular schedule during the day because we have to get up for school. So we can't always do that 100%. Well, just sleep when I'm tired kind of thing. So I always recommend kind of going to sleep in a quiet, dark room with no TVs, no music, or other electronics, phones, tablets, any other screen that you can think of. Music is okay if it's something that calms you down. Reading books are okay as long as it calms you down. Except I do have some patients that just super love reading. And reading a book will cause them to be up till 2 o'clock in the morning. And if that's something that's going to be you and it's disruptive to you, then maybe nighttime is not the best time to read books. And then we try to work on no screens kind of 1 to 2 hours prior to bedtime. And that's just to kind of calm you down. Screens and the blue light that is emitted from screens. It's why we always talk about blue blockers and things like that actually suppress your melatonin, which is the hormone that causes you to feel sleepy at nighttime. So, 1 to 2 hours prior to bedtime, we kind of turn off screens and try to kind of make everything calming. Um, you know, Nowadays, a lot of times TVs are just kind of like on in the house in general. So, you don't have to like shut down everything necessarily unless that's really important for you in your house. Um, but none of this screen, computers, tablets, phones, things like that, something that's really up close and you're focusing on and can really be stimulating, 1 to 2 hours before bedtime. And then again, that regular sleep and awake cycle, I say pick a bedtime. I don't care when it is, but it needs to be 8 to 10 hours before you have to wake up in the morning. And pick a bedtime and kind of stick to it. Every single time when patients come to see me, I say, what time do you go to bed at night? When is your bedtime? And very rarely do people say, this is my bedtime. It's more of, like yesterday or before. And so pick a bedtime and stick to it. And that's kind of that part where we talk about training your brain to go back to, this is when we need to go to sleep and this is when we need to be awake. And then again, avoiding that caffeine and hopefully nicotine 6 hours before bedtime. If you're going to have some caffeine, make sure it's a long time removed, because caffeine can really, depending on what time of day you drink, it can really affect and how sensitive you are can really affect how sleepy you are at night. And avoiding really late meals. I can't remember exactly what the recommendations are about going to bed, eating and then going to bed, like how many hours that should be. But when you eat, your body's metabolism starts and your body starts doing things. And even you don't feel it, you don't know it, it's happening, it's digesting, it's doing this, it's creating energy, it's having all those biochemical processes and things. And that is stimulating to your body. And going to bed with a really full stomach can really cause disruptive sleep, because your body is busy digesting things, and it's like, stop, I don't want to calm down, I need to do all these things because you just put all this food in me. And so that's where we kind of avoid late night meals and things like that. So it's really tough, especially if you're up late at night and it's been a long time since you've eaten and you're really super hungry. Teeny tiny small snacks. We try to avoid big late night meals. And then getting regular exercise during the day, which is a whole other category, but that can really help. And you'll notice that a lot of these things all interact with each other. They all feed on each other. It's not this, and this. It is, this affects this, affects that, affects this. And it's all mishmashed together. And that's why we kind of have to all list my 5 things, bring them together. And so getting good exercise during the day, it's going to stimulate your body and make you more active and release endorphins and things like that. And that's going to help you get such good sleep at night. Such good sleep if you're busy and active and running throughout the day and really using those muscles and things, then you're going to get really good rest at night. And it's going to be very restorative. And keeping that up, not just, yay, I did it great one day, which is really tough. And, of course, eating a balanced diet, which goes along, excuse me, with a lot of other things. If you've got a lot of like processed foods and sugars and stuff like that, then it's going to kind of contribute to your body not feeling great and not getting very restful sleep. And then working on increased exposure to natural light and bright light during the day, which during the pandemic sometimes was easy for some people because there was a lot more outdoor activities going on, but sometimes a lot more challenging than other people because they just kind of wanted to stay in and not go anywhere and do anything. And sitting at home inside in the fluorescent lights that you have in your house can affect you. It affects you long term for sure. And getting outside and having that exposure to daytime light can really be helpful to getting restful sleep at night as well. And then we talk about only using your bed for sleep, which I really try to focus on for a lot of my teenagers, of all of these things that I tell you that you need to do, then we really want to use your bed for sleeping. No phones in the bed. If you're not going to do no screens 1 hour before bedtime, which is some people do, that's fine. You know, you want to sit and play on your phone before you go to bed. And, you know, for people who are working, send all those last minute emails before you go to bed. But once you get into the bed, physically into the bed, no more phones. Phones get charged on the other side of the room. And you know, the phone doesn't need to come into the bed with you. You also don't need to do homework in your bed. During the pandemic, when everybody was doing virtual learning, and some people may still be doing virtual learning, we try not to do virtual learning in your bed. Don't sit on your bed and look down at the computer screen like this anyway, because that's going to create bad posture and tension where it shouldn't be anyway. But using your bed for sleep and sleep only. Bed is where you sleep, and that's kind of it's like a cue for your brain a lot of times, like a Pavlov's dog, where you have like an outside stimulation that is training your brain to think things and do things in that moment. And then using melatonin at night can be really helpful. Melatonin all in itself has a little bit of a anti-migrainous property to it. We don't necessarily know how or why, but it does. And even sometimes all by itself can be a nice preventative. And it may just be because it helps with sleep. Who knows?
Is there a dose that you recommend?
I say always start at the smallest one. Good question. Always start low and go up if needed. 1 milligram. For anybody who's never tried melatonin before, just start there, and you can get those gummies if you don't want to swallow a tablet or it's gross or something like that. And then go up from there and go up to 3 and go up to 5. You know, adults usually can go up to 10. You can go higher than that, but usually past 10 milligrams, you're not going to get that much more benefit if it's not working for you. And you probably need to go see somebody who is more of a sleep specialist, because that's really challenging. And then I say if it's used correctly. So melatonin is it's not a magic sedative. It's not just going to knock you out. It is something that uses your own, that gives you a boost of extra hormone that your body already makes right before bed. But if that isn't enough for you, and you have, your brain can't turn off, you have too much anxiety is the number one reason for insomnia, and you're just not able to fall asleep in that moment, then melatonin can give you a little bit of that boost. But we have to kind of utilize it. If you are really overtired and you go to the movies or sit and watch a movie, you're going to stay up awake. And you're not going to fall asleep because you're pushing through it. And you can push through melatonin. Again, it's not matter. You can push through it. If you take a melatonin and then go do something active, then it's not going to be helpful for you. And by active, I mean probably just playing on your phone or stimulating you, or talking to your friend, or doing something else, or trying to get all that last minute homework done right before bed, which is, better. But you have kind of like this little 2-hour window where you kind of have to utilize it, where it's going to be the most effective for you. So I say take it the 30 minutes to an hour before your bedtime that you have already chose, because we've already gone through that, and utilize it. Sit in a dark room with no TVs and stuff like that, and create a good environment for you to fall asleep in. And if that's still not helpful, then you can adjust dose or do some other things, but kind of, do all those relaxing things that you want to do by unwinding at the end of the day, while also using melatonin. And then it's not something that, like, if you're, I can't sleep and I'm up till like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you take your melatonin, then you're probably going to end up being a lot still sleepy the next morning, if you don't still go get that full 8 to 10 hours of sleep at night. So it's not something that's really good to use in that way. But taken early in the evening, right before your bedtime, can really be the best. Any questions on that? That was a big one. And then again, let's see, I've seen some stuff in the chat box. Is there anything I'm not paying attention to?
No, I just put the it's called the Plant Nanny to help track hydration. So
thank you.
You're welcome.
That was gonna bother me.
The plants are really cute. You don't want to kill it, so you make sure you bring.
I went through my slide. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, cool. And so then what are some reasons why getting sleep is really challenging, or getting good sleep at night is really challenging? Anyone? We've got some more faces.
Yes, we do. Welcome, Melanie. Welcome, Holly. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having it.
Of course.
What was the question again?
What are some reasons why getting the 8 to 10 hours of sleep can be really challenging?
Life, activities.
Life, the things that are making tiny noises in the background. Those things. And yeah, there's a million reasons why getting good sleep at night is challenging. And again, anxiety is the number one reason for insomnia. And it is so common in so many of my migraine patients. My brain just won't turn off at night. It's just how I say that. And every time I say that, they go, yes, that's it. And I said, well, that's anxiety. When your brain is just worrying and you can't turn it off, and you can't think about all these tiny thoughts. And so, if that's something that is challenging for you, I always obviously encourage talking to a therapist or somebody to help. And even not from an anxiety therapy standpoint, but sometimes they can be really helpful with relaxation techniques and things to calm you down. Meditation and mindfulness, and there's plenty of apps that I will actually get into in a little bit.
And we actually,
those.
Yeah, Miles for Migraine actually has a mindfulness series, so that might be something to check out if
out that mindfulness series.
Yeah, right. So if that's something you think that might help you or your child, please, I'll put the website on our in the chat so that you guys can check it out.
Yes, and again, sleep is probably one of the toughest hurdles to get over if that's something that's very much impacting your migraines for many reasons, and probably one of the most important, which is so hard. And then moving on to eating. Eating is important. As we all know. So, just a couple of tidbits about eating and diet habits and things like that. I don't go too much in detail about diet habits because everybody knows, there's a million gazillion fad diets and things like that. I actually did have a friend send me an article not long ago. I haven't read it yet, so don't take this with a grain of salt, about ketogenic diet for migraine headaches. And I know a lot of my patients go gluten-free just because it has been really helpful for them. But in general, the biggest things that I talk about that are just a broad recommendations is low blood sugar can trigger a headache every single time. And it is very common for everybody across the board. So we really focus in on not skipping full meals. And for majority of my teenagers, that is not eating breakfast before they go to school or at school, whenever they eat breakfast. And they, some of them even will, school lunch is gross, so they don't want to eat school lunch. And so some of them don't eat breakfast and don't eat lunch and then come home from school and just eat your whole house. And that is a really common pattern for some people that have really tough to treat migraines. And, that's obviously we don't want to do that. We want to work on kind of eating regularly throughout the day. I say breakfast is anything that you put in your mouth within an hour of waking up in the morning. I don't care what it is. You can eat cold pizza. You can eat broccoli. You can have a hot dog. Just don't make it like donuts or something that's just pure sugar, because that's not necessarily going to be very helpful. You're going to crash. And then try to not go more than about 4 to 6 hours throughout the day without eating anything. And if you don't want to eat full meals, that's fine. We just work on snacking on things, hopefully healthy snacks, if we can. And then that chart to the side is kind of an example about like the general, the American Headache Society has a headache diet. And it's low in tyramines, which is something that's known to cause and trigger migraines, along with MSG, caffeine, and some fermented foods. Things that have added nitrates and processed sugars are also potential triggers. And so this is just kind of, here are some examples of things that you need to avoid. And then here are some things that you can use to substitute in lieu of those other things. And some of this stuff is like really random and weird, like sausages and pepperoni, which is like on all the good pizzas. So sometimes that can be really hard, but the main things that I focus on is MSG, which is in most cases Chinese takeout, or ramen noodles. Ramen noodles is quick, it's easy, it's cheap, and those little packets are full of MSG. and in the flavors and everything. And MSG is not necessarily dangerous for most people, but it can really lead to worsening migraines and can be a big migraine trigger. Also, ramen noodles is so, just by itself in those packets is really super not healthy because it's made of flour and salt. But that's one of the things that I kind of, let's focus on small little things. Saying to somebody, eat a healthy diet, is such a daunting thing to say to somebody, and kind of overwhelming for especially pediatric patients. They're like, oh, okay. And so I really try to focus on small little things. We always talk about the caffeine. I focus on the ramen noodles, and some of those hard cheeses, like, if anyone's eating brie on a regular basis, then I don't know, but and then if you want to, you can kind of track your eating habits over time and see if you can identify anything. Oh, this is kind of what I was going into anyway. So the breakfast is really important. And then tracking foods on a headache calendar can be a really easy way to help find your triggers and find ways to narrow down different foods that could trigger your migraines. Sometimes it can take a lot of time because you have to, track foods that you eat over time and when you have migraines and things like that. And so sometimes it's going to be some tedious work. If you really think that something that you're eating is causing your migraine headaches, and it can be really helpful and sometimes worth the time to take to track all that stuff. And again, something small is okay for breakfast. Some of those little bitty breakfast shakes are really good. It's got protein in it, fruit, cereal, anything like that. And again, with the what are some things that are challenging? Some teenagers say, "Oh, I'm not hungry in the morning," or sometimes if I eat too early in the morning, it makes me nauseous, or I really don't feel like putting anything in my mouth that early in the morning. And I get that. It's again, something that you've trained your body to do and react. And so if your body is not used to eating that early in the morning, it's not quite ready for that. But then we focus on just eating really small things, like a granola bar or some cottage cheese or something like that. Just in your stomach to hopefully something that you enjoy. I don't want to put something in your mouth that tastes like cardboard, because you're not going to want to eat it on a regular basis, and you're going to fail that goal. But working on something that you enjoy eating in small doses in the morning can be really helpful. And it also kickstart your day. If I need to, I go into that. When you eat something early in the morning, it starts your metabolism. And really, if you're somebody who wants to lose weight or be healthier, then sometimes if you're not eating breakfast, going back to eating breakfast can help you lose weight a little bit, as long as you also have other healthy habits. Because it kickstarts your metabolism earlier in the day. And so you have a longer period of time where your body is burning calories, because that metabolism starts earlier, as opposed to not really getting started until the afternoon. And it can actually work in a way to help you lose weight instead of helping you gain weight by eating more, which is totally backwards. But what are some ways on why kind of doing these things can be challenging for you?
My daughter leaves about 1 minute to get dressed and out the door in the morning.
Yes. Ding ding. And yeah, that's how I always talk about something small, portable. Granola bars are great. If you go to the grocery store, there is a wall of granola bars. There's a huge selection of granola bars. Go to the grocery store with your parents. This I usually I'm talking to my teenagers. Go to the grocery store with your parents. Look at that wall. Find something. Some of them have chocolate in it, and that's fine. Okay, I'll take it. Whatever kind of gets things started and going during the day, and they all get really excited if you talk about chocolate for breakfast. A little bit. And anything that you can grab and go, grab it. I'm not gonna lie, when I was a teenager, I used to take a hot dog, no bun, just a hot dog, wrap it in a paper towel, and just run out the door. That was my breakfast this morning. It's so disgusting. But I was 16 years old and I thought it was great. And it was quick. Right. And then on to exercise, which is my number, where are we at? 4 things. Exercise versus screen time. And so we're kind of going to address both of those things in this whole little bucket. We have what I call my actual recommendations. This is what you're going to see if you look at the recommendations from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Vigorous exercise 3 to 4 days a week for 30 minutes, or moderate exercise 5 to 6 days a week for an hour. And then limit screen time to 2 hours per day. But like in reality, we have virtual learning. There are apps for everything. YouTube cat videos are super fun. And we don't always, those recommendations are big goals nowadays. Those are big goals for some people, and some people it's hard and it struggles to get to those recommendations. And then when you cannot meet those expectations that we set out for you, then it feels like a failure, and then you're not going to do them, and then you ended up right where you were before. With virtual learning, especially with the pandemic, everyone's screen time really went up. And for some people, being at home and having screen time as for learning, it was great because they didn't have to physically go to school, and a lot of that stimulation of the lights and the people and all that stuff and the stress was a lot less, and it was great. But for some people, it caused their migraines to go up really bad because they were just on that screen all the time, and it was really affected to them. So this is just some recommendations that I got from a local ophthalmologist about kind of how to do virtual learning. And not all of us are in virtual learning anymore because we're starting to get out of that situation from the pandemic. But some people went into virtual learning for the pandemic and said, this is great. Why have I not been doing this the entire time? And so we've continued to do that. And so we want to kind of keep up this is more of a kind of an eye strain, focus situation, like recommendations, but it's keeping the screen at an appropriate distance from your face, keeping the height of the screen level so that you're not looking up or looking down at your screen, especially looking down, because it can cause a lot of that neck tension and that cervicogenic component to your headache. Making sure that the illumination of the screen matches the room. So you don't want to sit in a dark room and look at a bright light. And you don't want to look at a dim screen when you're in a bright room. And so it goes both ways. And then the 20-20-20 rule, which is at least every 20 minutes, look 20 feet away for 20 seconds. And that's to help use those muscles in your eye to help focus back and forth so that you're not just sitting at the same screen the entire time. And then do not forget to blink. Because when you're staring at a computer, you're naturally not blinking as much as you normally would. And then any sort of anti-glare, anti-reflective coating you can put, or blue light blockers, whether it's blue light glasses. Even my 6-year-old little son has some of those just to keep that down, or putting a screen on the computer that you use at home for that can be really helpful. And just some tidbits. And then so why do we talk about exercise and making sure that is really part of our daily routine? Because all these other things are like eating and drinking and having good healthy diet, and then you're gonna make me exercise. And again, as we mentioned before, exercising helps you sleep better. and it helps your circadian rhythm to be more balanced and can help in that way. It releases endorphins. Endorphins are your happy hormone, which is going to help your mental health. And see if I can get this phrase right. This little, it's a meme that I found on the internet that was so great. Exercise is the most underutilized anti-anxiety medication. It is super helpful, and it can help you feel good all the time and really give you that mental health boost. Gives you more energy, encourages you to eat better after you exercise. You know, some people just want to go eat some ice cream after they exercise, but in general, it makes you feel better and makes you, endorphins give you, put you in a positive mental state. And when you're in a positive mental state, you are more likely to make healthier decisions for yourself. And which is going to be eating better and doing all the things. And then how to do it. You know, I say do vigorous exercise for 30 minutes, 3 to 4 days a week. And that doesn't mean anything to very many teenagers or even grown adults. But I say break a sweat at least once every day. I don't care how you do it. You can dance party in your bedroom. You can make a TikTok video. You can go walk your dog. You could punch a pillow. You could, maybe not punch other people. But anything that you want to do to make you break a sweat, do it. I don't care what it is. And then let me know what are some examples that you guys do for exercise during the day, especially if it's something unique that maybe not many people do. I'm old. I sit and watch treadmill and watch Friends.
Well, I do know that my daughter, she finds that running, like even if she's on the lacrosse team and she plays soccer, but she finds by running like 1 mile to 2 miles every day really helps her keep her migraine attack. She has pain 24/7, but it keeps her pain level down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, I had migraines from age 5 till I was 30. She started at 5 as well. And I used to run 5 to 8 miles like every day. And it really helped. There was no medicine when I was a kid, there was St. Joseph's aspirin, like you just had to kind of figure it out. And no one even knew what a migraine was really. So I kept telling her, babe, if you would try to run, I know, it really helped mommy. Like, well, no, doesn't want to do it, until she started to actually do it. And then she tells her doctor, oh, I started, I'm trying to run at least 1 mile every day and I feel so much better. I'm like, really?
It was totally her idea, and she did it all by herself. It had nothing to do with you.
I was like, oh, well, at least she did it.
Yeah.
And she found it helps. And I was like, really?
That is awesome. I know I have some patients where, sometimes running can be really challenging, especially that movement and then activity can cause some people to have worsening migraines. And so I try to work with them on what sort of, non-impact things do you want to do. There's definitely plenty of things that do not have those types of movements that can cause your headache to be worse. Swimming during the summer is really, really awesome. Because you're nice and cool. There's not any pressure. There's not any doesn't have hard on your joints or anything like that. And swimming can be a really, really fun activity to do during the summertime that can be a lot of exercise, and you don't even realize it because you're in a nice, cool pool.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter does swimming, but when she's in a migraine attack, she really can't do much exercise. It kind of makes it a lot worse for her. Is there anything else that you would recommend that maybe she can do? Maybe just as simple as like walking around the block. I don't know if that's okay, but we have found that any kind of exercise really makes everything worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really common. Activity causes migraines to be worse sometimes. And in an acute migraine, I say don't push yourself. It depends on how frequently your migraine attacks are and how impactful they are to in each moment. But sometimes that movement and that physical activity is really the part that kind of makes it worse. And so walking, that's kind of like small and benign, can be very helpful. Or like a stationary bike, or something like that, where you're kind of sitting still, but you're still active and moving your body a little bit, if you can tolerate that. And just kind of work with whatever is, whatever your body tolerates. But those are just some little things that that you can try. I think that stationary bike, I've had some patients tell me that was really helpful, because they're not moving any, it's just their legs are kind of going. And so it doesn't impact their headaches as much as kind of, that really active exercise. Good point.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. And I'm going to get comfortable for my last one, because it's stress management and relaxation. Which is such a big part into migraine. We all know that mental health plays a big part in our migraine management, and I can do a whole nother talk about it.
We'll be asking you back.
Yes, I know. I could do a whole nother one on just mental health related to chronic migraine. But self-care is really the best thing that you could ever do for yourself. And a lot of these recommendations are kind of geared towards a lot of my teenagers, just things that they can personally do to help themselves. And so I say talking to a therapist, if you've never done that before, it's not as bad as you think it is. People have this image of talking to a therapist and it being sitting on a sofa and talking about your feelings, and it's really not that way as much anymore. They can really help with relaxation techniques. They can help with coping with pain. They can help your mood, which can also help you cope with pain. They can help get your lifestyle and daily habits a little bit easier, and give you tips and help you sleep better at night. Your mood and your mental health is often the number one cause for fluctuation in your headaches. So you're doing the water, you're eating this, you're like, Beth, I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing, and just randomly out of the blue, my migraine started to increase, and I didn't change anything. I didn't do anything. And a lot of times it can just be your mood and how your thought process is going, and what else you're going through from an outside standpoint that you may or may not realize in just yet. And so having someone there is like a therapist or someone to talk to can be really helpful. We have psychologists that we have in our joint complex headache clinic, because it's such a huge part of migraine health, and migraines can be really personal. And obviously your mental health is as well. And it is, a lot of times it is the biggest part of the puzzle, and it can have a really, really good or bad effect on all the other things. If you have a lot of anxiety, then it can cause insomnia. If you have a lot of depression, then you're not going to make as many good, healthy food choices. Or you're going to feel like you don't need to try as much to get that exercise in, or something like that. And so it plays a part in everything, and everything that we're doing. And anxiety and depression and all things mental health are real diagnoses. And I really impress that they should be treated just the same way as our migraine headache should be treated. And if you've got any component there that you think that it might be affecting your headaches, then I always recommend seeing a therapist. And I try to put it in a way, especially for some of the younger patients that we have, it's not, it is really not as bad as you think it is. And it can be really helpful, and because I want them to feel comfortable with it, and I want them to understand that it really can be beneficial for their migraines, and it's not just something that I like to say. Because a lot of times it feels like that for some of those younger kids that don't necessarily understand the gravity of things just yet, and things like that. And then we have all of our different apps for that. And there are so many different apps. I actually think the Plant Nanny is one of them on here. Yes, there is.
Yeah, that little cute guy on the bottom. He's so cute.
Plant Nanny.
He's so cute.
So many things. Calm and Headspace are the two most common ones that I recommend meditation, relaxation, deep breathing, mindfulness. There are so many more outside of this. These are just some ones that our psychologist recommends on a regular basis. Migraine Buddy helps you track your migraine headaches over time, and I really encourage them to use that. There's a lot of different migraine tracking apps that you can use, but Migraine Buddy uses it for research and uses the data and stuff to help research migraine treatments. And so I appreciate them a little bit more than some of the other ones. There's, white noise and sleep apps to help you relax at night, can be really helpful. Definitely if there's other kids and or people at all in your house, then white noise can be really helpful for sleep. But just a few of these different apps that you can look at to kind of help some of those lifestyle habits be easier, because everybody has an app. And then we can all talk about some of the reasons why stress management and mental health and relaxation is not necessarily the easiest thing to do.
Because life is busy.
Or give me some different ways that you have your own personal self-care and things that you do to relax or unwind or be mindful about during the day.
So my daughter's been trying to do biofeedback.
Oh, okay.
Working on breathing techniques to help
Yep.
with her migraines and everything. So that's one thing that she's been trying.
Yes, biofeedback can be really helpful. Biofeedback is actually really hard. Along with meditation, it takes a good amount of mindfulness and concentration and really focusing on your inner self to be able to do. And so good for her. That's awesome. And then any questions? You've been a wonderful audience.
This has been great, Beth. I really appreciate it. Does anyone have any questions or any thoughts? Or I definitely wrote down, a mental health talk. So maybe we can have you come back and talk to us a little bit about that, because I know for our children and for ourselves, everyone can definitely use that. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you. This was so helpful. I know for myself and my daughter, I know that I'll be taking a lot of things, and I hope everyone else felt the same. And, I want to thank everyone for attending. What I'm putting in the chat was throughout, I put in, we have a parent-to-parent support group, which I actually lead. It's the first and third Wednesday of every month in the evening. And it's, you can register, it gives you the link. We also have a Teen Talk, which is a support group for children age 13 to 19. And it's led by a licensed clinical social worker. We have also in July, we're going to be having a presentation from Migraine at School, and also learn about the 504 accommodations if your children don't, has that or doesn't. But the Migraine at School is a really great resource that we're trying to move out into all the school systems across the United States. So, that should be really exciting. It's already posted on our website. So if anyone's interested in coming, that's in July. And then I did put a little brief survey, if everyone wouldn't mind just taking a moment or two just to click on the link. Forgive my dogs, they're barking in the background, but they were good all the time. So that just lets us know how we're doing, topics you'd like to see, if this was your first event, what you thought, that type thing. So I'll let everyone just take a few minutes and check that out. And yeah, we're looking forward to having you come back to more of our family events. And we also have adult events too. That's on our website as well. And if anyone, we have 24 cities where we host walk, run, relax events. So it's a great way to really build our community, meet others who are in the same boat as you. Potentially some have migraine, some are there to support someone that does. So it's a really great way to raise awareness and really just strengthen our community. So
Is it okay? My daughter Victoria is here and she had a question.
Of course.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead, Vicky.
I'm the one with the migraines.
Okay.
And I was wondering if there's any way during a migraine, like if I took the medicines I'm supposed to get it to go away, but it doesn't work. Is there any way that I can have the migraine like calm down without medicines, or any different ways to relieve of that pain?
That's an excellent question. Rest and relaxation is really one of the best ways. So, we always recommend that you drink a lot of water along with your rescue medication plan. So kind of chugging a whole bottle of water in that moment, if you can, depending on how nauseous you are in that moment. And then really resting, turn all the lights out, do all the things that are going to make you feel better. You can do things like put ice on the back of your head or on the front of your head, depending on where your pain is primarily. Depending on how severe your migraine attack is, you can even jump in the shower and let that water kind of pound on the top of your head like that, and kind of distract things for a little bit. And sometimes that can be really soothing. Just a lot of little different things, whatever you find works best for you. But those are just some recommendations that we have, but really kind of resting. And if you need to sleep, then sleep, but really kind of taking it easy and letting those medications kind of do their thing.
Okay, thank you so much.
Good question.
Beth, have you had any success with any of your patients using like the Nerivio, like the or Cephaly, any of those neuromodular devices? Because then
yeah, we have.
Okay.
The Cephaly was one of the first neuromodulating devices that kind of came out that we started to recommend then, and it can be really expensive, but it's probably the one that also helps the most. Is that one on your forehead. The Nerivio we started using a little bit more recently. And it's kind of hit or miss on whether it's tolerated or not, because sometimes that can be a really unique and strange feeling if you're not used to it, especially the one that goes on your forehead. And if you're able to tolerate it, it can be really, really very helpful. Where some of our, we are sometimes limited with our medications on how effective they can be, but sometimes using some of our devices can be helpful to kind of bridge that gap. But yeah, and most of them have kind of like some amount of a guarantee, where if you use them and you're like, this is not for me, then you can send them back and get your full refund back. But yeah, we do use them in a handful of our patients here.
Okay, great. Yeah, I always try to look at like sometimes my daughter, her medicine doesn't work as well either. And I know that I've even seen those little ice caps you can wear, but she can't handle any like pressure on her head. Kind of, I don't know if it's like a claustrophobic sort of feeling for her. I'm like, come on, why don't we try? She's like, I'm not putting it on.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes that's where kind of the shower can be sometimes helpful for those like that, because they can't handle any pressure, but like that really subtle like tapping of the water on your head can kind of be distracting if you can handle it. It's a similar concept.
Okay.
If you don't mind just jumping in the shower.
That's relatively easy to do, So, well, this was wonderful. Thank you so much. And does anyone have any questions or any other thoughts? Well, thank you all for spending your evening with us. This was really great, Beth. And we'll definitely be having you come back to see us again to give us some more information, because this was really a great event and we really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
You too. Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I know every time we brought up, like, I kept trying to like throw stuff in the chat and stuff, and so. And I have woohoo, and actually 4, because the daughter was there too, so we'll take that. So I know I'm so bummed though. I don't know where everybody went, but I so appreciate you taking the time and rearranging your life and your kids and everything.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. It was like we've got our 2 other providers, Dr. Forte and Dr. Tutmeyer, one of them is on maternity leave right now, and the other one is about to go on maternity leave. So like,
I didn't realize. Oh, wow.
so you got me.
Awesome. No, this was wonderful. And I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
no problem.
it's always good for me too, because I can, learn stuff from my daughter, and I'm like, hey, Len, you should really try this. Although she won't come online to watch these things, but I'll keep
Yeah,
poking
one day.
information at her. So. So awesome. Well, you have a great night, and thank you so much. All right.
Thank
And I'll
you.
talk to you soon. Okay.
Okay,
Bye-bye now.
thanks.